Welcome back, everyone. 69 degrees at 8:24. It has been nearly 2 months, believe it or not, since workers at a Flint, Michigan GM plant went on strike, forcing almost 200,000 workers off the job. Now, the strike could go to arbitration, or it could go on for months. Chuck Weinblatt is an expert on labor market trends and labor market relations at the University of Toledo. He joins us this morning to sort of offer an analysis of the strike and the future of General Motors. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We're talking about the possibility, or the arbitrator moving in this week. You said that's really unprecedented, especially with auto talks.
In the history of the UAW and Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors, they typically do not go for arbitrators. They usually solve their problems internally. So this is a rather unprecedented situation.
That both sides have agreed to this.
Yes, but they're still not bound by the results of that.
In other words, the arbitrator could come up with a recommendation and they could say, well, we're still going to do what we want anyway?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's break this down. What does the union hope to get out of this strike? Let's revisit that.
Well, at the local level, they're talking about work rules and capital investments at the Flint plant. But that's not really the larger picture. The larger picture is that General Motors has some very, very serious problems. And they can be summed up in one word, and that's overcapacity. They simply have too many employees and too many plants for the number of vehicles that they can build and sell. So there are only two solutions for General Motors. One, sell more vehicles, which is unlikely since their market share is already going down. Or two, cut costs. One of the ways to cut costs is to outsource parts, meaning to buy parts from non-union suppliers or from foreign countries where labor is cheap. They're trying to do that, and that's a real significant problem for the UAW.
At this point. And they're really digging their heels in on this one. GM says, you know, we're in this for the long haul. I mean, they've lost billions of dollars so far, but they're in this for the long haul.
Sure. Publicly held companies, like General Motors, have only one obligation, and that's to turn the best profit they can for their stockholders. All other considerations are secondary. So the stockholders are going to demand that they cut costs in any way possible. It could include potentially dropping an entire line of vehicles. For example, they could drop Oldsmobile and still have the lower end market with Chevrolet, the higher end with Buick and Cadillac, and maintain the sport vehicle with Pontiac. And that would be one example of how they could cut costs.
Well, I asked you a little bit earlier, and I said, is this an appropriate question? Could GM go under, though? I mean, if they continue to dig their heels in and this continues to go on, losing billions of dollars, could they go under?
Potentially, but that's very, very slim as a possibility. One interesting thought, and Chrysler went through this a number of years ago, they could consider not selling and building cars and concentrate on the sport utility and truck lines, because those are higher margin vehicles.
Okay.
It went to Chrysler's board some years ago, and they actually discussed it and decided not to do it. But selling small cars does nothing for General Motors because there isn't enough margin in it.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot of things, though, that can go in to prevent that from happening.
Many, many things would happen first before they would decide to do that.
Real quick, how long do you anticipate this going on? Having been in this, I mean, if you had to call it, I mean, are we going to see several more months of this? This
is almost unprecedented. Everybody that I know is surprised that it lasted beyond the summer shutdown.
Okay.
I would be surprised personally if it lasted more than another month.
Okay. Well, we'll maybe have you back in another month, depending on what's going on. Thank you.
Well, let's hope they settle first.
Yes, I think everybody hopes that they settle. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
24 senior reporter Tom Bosco joins us now with some news that workers inside that plant will be paying very close attention to. What's going on, Tom?
Well, John, one union official says the Jeep Cherokee was dead. That is, until an announcement this morning that will keep jobs in the home of the Jeep. The Jeep Cherokees, or the XJs as the car maker calls them, will continue to roll off the for some time. That's after the automaker announced that the model will continue until September of 2001. Union leaders had been told by Daimler Chrysler that the Cherokee's days were numbered.
November of 2000, the car's dead, and with all the SUVs coming out in the market, they figured that they were just going to kill the car when the KJ come on.
At this point, people love Cherokees, and they continue to buy them. And for the foreseeable future,
The business world is shrinking a bit tonight. The parent company of the Toledo-built Jeep is expanding its reach again, this time merging with Japan's Mitsubishi Motors. NBC 24 senior reporter Tom Bosco joins us now. What does this mean for Daimler Chrysler, Tom?
John, Daimler will buy 34% of Mitsubishi and will create the world's third largest automaker. Now, what that means to Toledo and the hometown Jeep brand, though, remains to be seen.
there will be an enormous demand for automobiles in China during the next 25 years. The question is, what kind of vehicles will sell?
Daimler Chrysler is betting it will be their vehicles. The German-American automaker will take Japan's Mitsubishi for a ride in a deal worth more than $2.1 billion. Local experts say that could get Daimler cars into Asian showrooms like this one, and into showrooms yet to be built in emerging Asian markets.
The Asian market is a veritable gold mine for the future. When it breaks, everyone's going to want to be a major player there. So in this case, it gives Daimler Chrysler an opportunity to have a presence in that market.
But will that have any effect on Toledo's favorite brand? It's too early to tell.
We do build some right-hand drive Jeeps for the Asian market, but if this gives us greater access to those markets, it could be potentially really good news for our guys.
Now, this is just one of many mergers with Asian companies in Asian countries in the past year. The biggest deal came when France's Renault bought a huge stake in Nissan. Our local experts say it's good that Daimler Chrysler got a stake into future auto action in Asia. John?
Tom, anyone else, or is anyone talking about any possible downsides in this deal?
Well, Chuck Weinblatt, who we spoke with there, spoke about some cultural differences that may have led to the end of a Chrysler-Mitsubishi collaboration back in the 90s. We'll wait and see whether those problems arise again. Reporting live in Studio B, I'm Tom Bosco, NBC 24 News.
Good evening, I'm John Clark.
And I'm Angela Atala. This is your news at 6. How will Jeep's parent company stop its financial bleeding? Daimler Chrysler today announced its plan to cut its losses. NBC 24 senior reporter Tom Bosco is following this story. He joins us from the newsroom. Now, Tom, Daimler lost about more than $1 billion in the fourth quarter. How are they going to make all of this stop?
Well, Angela, we learned last month that Daimler plans to cut 26,000 workers throughout the company, and we know that the Cherokee is dead and Wrangler production is being cut. Now we know the company's entire vision to drive out the red.
We are confident that we will deliver what we promised today, that this turnaround plan will bring our company back to profitability.
From Daimler headquarters in Stuttgart, the man in Chrysler's driver's seat announced the plan. By the end of this year, the company will cut 19,000 jobs, cut parts costs by 5%, and launch the Jeep Liberty and a new Dodge Ram. Still, the company expects to lose more than $2 billion. Next year, a new Viper hits the market, another 4,200 jobs get cut, and the company expects to break even. By the end of 2003, 26,000 jobs will have been cut, another new model will debut, and officials are hoping a $2 billion profit will be in the bank. The Jeep Cherokee's days are numbered due to slumping sales. Now Daimler execs are pinning their hopes on the new Jeep Liberty. Local officials say they feel the Liberty can beat the slumping SUV market.
I think the Liberty is going to be like the PT Cruiser, and I think it will be the next exception to the market.
One part of the plan includes asking auto parts makers to lower their prices, something one expert calls unlikely.
This is like drawing blood out of a stone. The room for them to cut prices just isn't really there anymore.
For now, Jeep workers are feeling the pain. Daimler's 90% drop in profit means a similar drop in profit-sharing checks, from $8,100 last year to $375 this year.
I think they expected that, and some people didn't expect any profit sharing.
No, I'm just grateful to still be working here right now, so it doesn't make me upset.
Now, back in January, Daimler announced that Wrangler production will be cut by 28% and that the Cherokee will be eliminated later this year. And as we reported in January, the loss of the Cherokee could mean up to 1,400 people here could be idled. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Tom Bosco, NBC 24, your most local news station.
So here is the bottom line on how Daimler Chrysler plans to turn things around. The automaker intends to cut 12,000 workers and launch the Jeep Liberty by the middle of this year. The company plans to eliminate a total of 19,000 jobs by the end of the year. Daimler Chrysler hopes these moves will allow the automaker to break even by the end of 2002. That would pave the way for turning a profit of more than $2 billion by the end of 2003. The automaker would cut a total of 26,000 jobs as part of the plan. Well, the battle over whether smokers should be allowed to light up in public restaurants and bars is heating up tonight. It's a very tragic story tonight. Our thoughts and prayers go out to that family this evening. In other news tonight, more than 4,000 men and women work on the assembly lines at 2 Jeep plants making Toledo's signature product.
But a vote tomorrow could send them to the picket lines. NBC 24 senior reporter Tom Bosco has more.
As the Jeep Liberty assembly line moved today, so did union leaders, walking the floors of the new plant to talk up tomorrow's strike vote to 1,400 employees. Workers appear to be hearing the message that Daimler is demanding too much overtime.
They work hard over there. They work a lot of hours over there. 60 hours a week minimum. It's a lot of hours.
The people are just getting tired. They're getting worn out, but the company's bottom line is their almighty dollar.
2/3 of members are needed to approve a strike. Then the UAW and Daimler would negotiate during a 60-day cooling-off period. If a deal can't be struck, the UAW could give 7 days' notice of a walkout. Under the terms of their current contract, Jeep workers can only go on strike for health and safety issues, and union leaders say those are the official reasons this strike vote will be taken tomorrow. But it's widely believed that the real reason the vote will be taken will be an effort to put pressure on Daimler Chrysler to add a third shift at the new Liberty plant. But a strike won't force a third shift. Demand for more liberties, however, will.
It's all depending on sales. If there's enough demand for that many more vehicles, then they'll put on a third shift.
A third shift means hiring back 800 employees, something that Daimler could find tough.
If they add a third shift, it's not just the payroll expenses, but they have to add in pension, health and retirement costs, plus workman's comp. So that's a major expense.
Jeep employees, meanwhile, would also find a strike a major expense.
I think they'll vote for the strike, but I'm hoping we won't go on strike.
It's a tool. Wake them up. I think they'll wake up.
But it's an expense they say they're ready to pay.
I'm all union.
In Toledo, I'm Tom Bosco, NBC 24, your most local news station.
And we invite you to stay tuned to NBC 24 for complete coverage of that strike vote tomorrow.
Workers put in a vote.
Well, back here at home, Toledo Jeep workers say they have had enough, and today they've been voting on whether to strike. Union officials say health and safety issues are the #1 concern, but we've found the reasons behind the strike vote are much more complicated. 13 Action News reporter Rebecca Rainier is live at Jeep's Union Hall with the latest. Rebecca.
They'll be voting for about 1 more hour here at the local 12. According to the contract signed in 1997, the only reason that Jeep workers can walk off is for those health and safety reasons. But if you talk to the workers, health and safety are just the beginning of their concerns about the company.
Let me say it again. Contractually, Jeep workers can only strike over health and safety or line speed.
They have a responsibility to us to provide a safe workplace, and we've got some problems and they're going to have to deal with them. And this workforce has done everything they've asked since 1997 when we negotiated a plant. It's time that they lived up to their half of the bargain.
Here's the main health and safety issue. Liberty workers are working 60-hour weeks. Too much, they say. But now, listen to the workers on why they say they're voting.
To get people back to work.
I think that they're just taking too many people out right now, and they're not doing what they said they would do. And I'm voting for a strike.
The more you give, the more they want, and they don't appreciate it.
Right now, only 2 shifts make up the Liberty. According to union leadership, a third shift would solve the problems.
They do that, morale would go up, absenteeism go down, quality would go up. We build more cars, and they wouldn't have to try to ask us to work all these Sundays and extra Saturdays to get the cars they need out in time. It's that simple.
We've still got about 800 members laid off. We want them back to work. They built a new plant. They've done all the right things, and we think the company owes them jobs and ought to be looking for jobs for them. At the same time, they're outsourcing more work. They're shutting down our stamping plant. We want those brought back in. We think the buyout packages they offered could have went a little further, but those issues we'll deal with in another way. But when it comes to health and safety, we just can't compromise.
Now, this final word from an industry advisor.
We're in a wartime economy right now. How will that impact consumer demand? Now, these are important questions. So I suspect management would like to wait until the latest moment to make a decision on adding a third shift.
Daimler Chrysler did not return our calls for comment today. Union officials believe that the some 4,000-member rank and file will overwhelmingly vote for a strike. They also say, though, they do not believe a strike will actually happen. We'll know sometime tonight around 8:30 when they count those votes. Just to give you some history, the last time that Jeep workers voted for a strike during a contract was back in 1986. I'm Rebecca Rainier reporting live from the local 12.
Toledo Jeep workers vote overwhelmingly to strike. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lee Conklin.
And I'm Diane Larson. New on 13 Action News Nightbeat, Toledo Jeep workers took the next step toward walking off their jobs. The workforce believes today's vote sends a strong message to Daimler Chrysler, and that message, come negotiate or we'll stop building Jeeps. 13 Action News Nightbeat reporter Sarah Bloomquist joins us now live from UAW Local 12 headquarters with all the details. Sarah?
Well, today an estimated 3,000 Toledo Jeep workers came here to the Union Hall to cast a vote. The union reports an overwhelming 88% voted in favor of a walkout. The union hopes today's vote is a wake-up call for Daimler Chrysler and forces the automaker to do some serious negotiating. Tonight, the union chairman reported the results. The workers vote to strike.
I'm proud of the membership. They gave us the hammer we need to meet with the company and try and iron out those issues we've got with them.
Union leaders believe now Daimler Chrysler will take them seriously.
The fact that we have to support that decision, they have to talk to us.
We don't want to strike, but we have to back the union, and that's exactly what we're here for.
The union says workers can't meet the demand for the new Liberty. Leaders tell us production's behind by 32,000 vehicles. Employees work 60-hour weeks. They claim the fatigue creates health and safety concerns. On top of that, hundreds are laid off. The workforce makes it clear this vote is about jobs.
I think that they're just taking too many people out right now, and they're not doing what they said they would do, and I'm voting for a strike.
Well, sure, they're concerned about the jobs. We've got 800 people laid off. They know that Chrysler promised us full employment based on the new plant and us doing the right things. But again, we won't compromise our workers' safety.
Union leaders believe the two sides will start talking immediately. If no agreement's reached, they promise Jeep workers will stop building Jeeps. And now the union must notify Daimler Chrysler of the strike vote. After that, they must strike within the next 60 days and give 7 days notice. Reporting live at the UAW Local 12 Hall on Ashland Avenue in Central Toledo, I'm Sarah Bloomquist for 13 Action News Night Beat.